just turned to 6:59 when I started looking at it.
the beginning of the minute.
Okay, so there is a form like that one.
Who's the earliest?
When you're in school, you ever see the clock start ticking backwards on you?
Call to order of the Kearney School District Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Roll call, please.
Matt Baker. Glenn Broughton.
Here.
Meredith Cole. John Kern.
Here.
Reese Switzer. Nick Vasquez.
Here.
Darlene Bailey.
Here. Adopt them in the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Public hearing for the tax rate hearing.
Move to set the tax levy for operations at $3.43 and debt service at $1.19 for a total levy of $4.62.
Second?
We have no public comment. So any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Do you want to do?
You want me to go through the PowerPoint? Do you want to go through the PowerPoint?
I can go through it quickly.
Okay, sure. I
Okay.
forgot you had one, sorry.
That's okay. So we've got the, we'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, so just a quick recap. So if you take a look at our assessed valuation, again, this is a non-reassessment year. If you look at the combined between Clay County, obviously we get more AV coming from Clay County than we do Clinton County. So again, we've seen an increase, so we're up to $454,831,629. You'll see a little asterisk there. Remember, that number is adjusted by a little over $8 million due to a TIF. So personal property, interesting to note, that went down 1 to 2 million from last year, is that right? 1 million from last year. So our total AV did increase, so it's up to 556,894,971. So our total assessed valuation went up 1.4%. I bring this to your attention because when we budgeted that at 3%. So when Ginger comes back in October to do the budget amendment, there'll be some impact here. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Next slide. So when we look at assessed value, again, this is just a quick recap. Residential is at 19%, ags at 12%, commercial 32%, and personal property at 33 1/3. And this is how you actually calculate your property tax. You've got your market value multiplied by the classification percentage, and that equals your assessed value times the levy per 100 of assessed value, and that equates to your tax bill. And so again, I think this is important, especially for our community, to bring this up and bring this to your attention. I mean, if you look at our assessed valuation, 72% of that comes from residential, and this is something that we continue to talk about with the city. How do we continue to draw more or attract more commercial property to build that assessed valuation? And so this is just a calculation, and again, for our taxpayers at home. So again, it's a really modest increase, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of color here. Our operating levy, and I think John mentioned that earlier, only increased by 0.34 of a cent. Our debt service levy remained the same. So our total operating levy is going to be at that $4.62 and 26 hundredths. So again, very, very modest increase, and you can see what that would look like on a home calculation, or a home with a market value of $250,000. Next slide. So again, non-reassessment year. So we will see a modest increase of $68. And so that's one of the things, our operating levy can slightly adjust up to allow for that 0.34 hundredths of a cent increase due to Hancock Amendment. So again, to try to keep things revenue neutral. We always have the ability to recapture revenue from new construction. And you'll see that's where we get the lion's share of the new revenue, which is $288,793. There is an increase for our debt service levy, so our total new additional revenue is $382,552. And here's some quick highlights. Next slide. And again, general fund increases by that 34 hundredths of a cent. Revenue increases below inflation. Again, CPI is sitting closer to 3.4%. Our AV increase was only 1.4%. We're voluntarily rolling back, and I think this is really important for our patrons to understand. Our debt service levy is close to 28 cents. So again, I think it's really important for the board to talk about the tax rate and really kind of reevaluate our tax policy in the future. So that might be an upcoming work session. Any questions at this time? Okay, thank you.
Okay, this one is a roll call, please.
Matt Baker.
Yes.
Len Broughton.
Yes.
Meredith Cole. John Kern.
Yes.
Reese Schweitzer. Nick Vaskus.
Yes.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes. We have no public comment tonight.
Correct.
And next is our school spotlight. Ms. Hart?
So Dr. Gustafson asked if I would come in and share a little bit about what's going on in our supervised agriculture experience through the Ag Education Department here at Kearney. So as a little recap, our Agriculture Education Department follows a three-circle model, and in that model is agriculture education classes, the National FFA organization, and supervised agricultural experiences. And all three of those put together create a well-rounded agriculture education program. So we try to balance those three things out. Our SAE, I call them SAEs because supervised agriculture experience is really long. So our SAE projects are experiences that our students do outside of the classroom and a little bit inside the classroom as well, that helps them get some real world experience, some hands-on experience, and hopefully a future career path that they would like to at least investigate a little bit further. Not only can students gain experience, but most of them earn an income off of this, whether that be them owning their own business or they work in a placement or an internship. I would say probably 90% of our students get paid for these projects, which is really cool. We track our records. This is our second year using a program called AET, which has been phenomenal for tracking our students' work-based learning experiences. It tracks everything from the hours they work to their pay to their net worth. They do market value balance sheets. So they keep track of their leadership. It will auto-generate a resume for them. So the AET program has really been, it's still a learning process for me, but it's been really cool for the kids. They can do it all on an app through their phone. So when they leave work for the day, they can just go in and log what hours they worked, and or if they get paid, they can go straight into their phone and log in their paychecks. And then I can see it from anywhere that our students are showing up when they're supposed to be showing up. There's 5 types of SAE projects. Ownership or entrepreneurship, that means the student owns their own business or they own their own project and they assume all of the risk with that. There's placement or internship. Students are placed in a job or they intern. Research, I will tell you we do not have any students doing research projects, mostly because why do that when they can go get paid somewhere? So our students tend to want to go out where they can make money first. School-based, I do have some students doing school-based. That's where maybe they would work for the school for free. So I have a lot of students working in the greenhouse where they just come up and help out. Some students doing some elementary work with elementary kids, or even A+ing for myself. Service learning, this is a newer one, one that we are really starting to get interested in, but it's students doing community-based service projects that are long-term. So it's not just like one clothing drive or one food drive. It's more of the student sits down and comes up with a year-long service project, and they find the funds for it and carry out the planning and the goal setting all the way to the end. In Missouri, this was last year's data. In Missouri, agriculture education students revenued about $69 million. The average student, right around $4,000 here in Kearney. Our students earned an income of $90,000. So that doesn't include our freshmen, because in order for me to compile this data, they have to have a year full of records. And so that does not take into consideration our 38 freshmen that I had last year. So this was just 10, 11, and 12, and they worked a accumulation of just over or almost 7,000 hours. This is outside of class time. So that 7,000 does not include anything during our classes. Here are three students and kind of seeing what they do. And this is what I do during the summer is I go out and I visit our students and I spend time with them talking about their goals, what are their next steps, what have they learned, what are their failures, how do we learn from those failures. And these are three that I'm just incredibly proud of. This is their niche and this is what they love. Chase has his own lawn mowing business, and when I have him in class, I can't get him to say 2 words. But I go to his house and I talk to him, and he knows everything there is to know about his lawnmowers. He just recently bought a trailer with his own money. One of his lawnmowers broke down, so now he's trying to figure out how to fix it. So when it comes to his business, he knows the ins and outs of it, including the financial records. He can tell you exactly how much he made last week, who his top customers are, what his net worth was last year. So he knows those financial records. So that's really cool to see him in his realm, I guess. Dawson, this kid was so proud of those tomatoes. First year student, and he decided to grow tomatoes. So I went out there this summer. It was pouring down rain. I called Dawson. I said, "You sure you want to do this today?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready." And I showed up, and he had a gator, like the driving gator, and he's like, "Hop in, we're going." And I'm just like, "Okay." I hopped in. We drove around the house to the garden. And so, he was so proud, and I just loved it. I mean, to see him light up like that, again, I have never seen that in a classroom setting, but to see him out there, he showed his tomatoes at the state fair. I took those down, and he won gold with his tomatoes. He made salsa and brought me and Miss Black, the new agriculture teacher, salsa this school year for us to try out his recipe for salsa. He's already talking about what he's doing next year. Like, I'm going to do these type of beds. These garden beds didn't work out. I'm going to build my own next year. And then we have Mallory. This is Mallory's 3rd year, and she has chickens. Her and her dad built her coop, and she sells eggs, and she does very well at that. And again, these kids know the ins and outs of their financial records, and it's just really cool to see that when, again, they don't talk much in class, but you get out there on their SAE project with them, and they just glow. So those are 3 students. AET records, again, that's the online system where we keep it. I tried to screenshot a picture of the AET records, but again, I'm still learning it, and it was very confusing unless I had like a really long screen. Something else we're doing other than SAE projects in class is industry recognized credentials. I just wanted to throw this out here because this is something we're really proud of for last year. Last year, 60 ag students were tested for an IRC, and 44 of those students passed. So 44 of our students got their MBAs with an industry recognized credential in an ag career field. And so that was something when I knew 44 had passed, but I hadn't looked at exactly how many had tested in the percentage. So these tests are not easy at all. They're based on actual industry skills. They are hands-on, they're performance-based. And I mean, we study for them, but we never know what's going to be on these tests. Every single test we go to is different. And if students, sometimes they have a bad day, sometimes the weather is not cooperative and they're out looking at forest in the pouring down rain. And so there's so many different things that can go wrong, and I thought having 44 students get MBAs was pretty noteworthy for tonight's session. So our credentials are stackable, so many of our students will leave our ag education department with 3, 4, 5 MBAs between their SAE projects and their IRC scores. So I cannot take pictures of IRCs because they're testing, and I'm not allowed to go in there and take pictures. But here's kind of a look at what they would do at the national level when they are judging IRCs. Again, they are hands-on performance-based, and Missouri Farm Bureau signs off on our tests. So we have a Missouri Farm Bureau representative come to our contest and say, yes, this is meeting industry standards. So it's not just something we come up with. We have oversight. And then students literally get a certificate at the end of the year that they can put into a resume, put into a portfolio, or whatever have you will. They get a physical certificate. So this is our IRC certificate. Okay, questions from you guys? Let me hear.
How many students are in the program?
Okay, so really excited. So now that we have our second agriculture education teacher, we have 167 enrolled in an ag education class, and that's eighth grade up. And we actually I got an email from Lacey asking, are you sure these FFA numbers are correct? Because there tentatively are over 70 members in the FFA this year.
Great.
So yeah, really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Erica, what are some of the examples of the IRCs that they can attain?
Okay, so there's 15 different areas: forestry, meats, livestock judging, horses, farm business analysis, floriculture, food science, dairy foods, dairy cattle, entomology, which is bugs.
So the 3 students that you had the slide with, do they get an MBA for entrepreneurial experience?
Depends.
Okay.
So I hold those MBAs to a very rigorous standard. And I hold them to the standard that if they could apply for the Missouri State FFA degree, which is not necessarily easy to get, if they can get that, then they should earn an MBA. If they can, we also have proficiency awards that are based just off their SAE projects. We have if they compete with their SAE projects against other students in our area and they place, they will get an MBA. But again, because I hold that to such a high standard, I don't necessarily think that someone with 4 or 5 plants should equate to an MBA. So I try to hold that to a high standard.
That's great. Thank you.
That's very exciting that we have so many students
Yeah.
doing that.
Yes.
That's very cool. And
Absolutely.
if y'all haven't been to the greenhouse, I missed the weekend sale last year. But the year before, I bought all my summer plants there, and they were awesome.
So we've been fortunate. We had some parents step in while I was on maternity to help run the greenhouse sale that Saturday. And so I went in and got everything set up. And I was like, man, when I come back, I'm going to go ahead and buy my plants too, because I just don't know. And I came back and almost everything was sold out in the first day. And that has never happened before. So
Awesome.
Exciting
it was such a successful year. So
That's great. Well, thank you so much.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Superintendent's report?
Yes. So first, I just want to thank the board again for the addition of the new school resource officer. It was absolutely timely in light of the last couple of weeks with all of the concerns over social media threats happening. So can't thank you enough for the additional support. We learned a lot through those experiences. And I think I just want to reiterate a couple of things. One, we will notify parents directly if there's a concern with a heightened risk. So I just want to reiterate that. And really just the importance of we want to hear factual information from kids. We need to reinforce that, and I think our students do a great job. And want to encourage parents to talk to their children. There's a lot of risk in it for children for making bad choices at this point. So again, that conversation at home is so critical, and we want to partner with parents. And social media, if there are real questions, contact the school. There's a social media is not a place to repost and try to get your questions. So the school district wants to be that place for you. So just want to reiterate a few things in that regard. A couple of other things. We had our second elementary boundary team meeting this week, and I'll tell you, we have a really dynamic team. So we have 17 staff and patrons with 4 principals and 7 district leaders that are participating in it. A knowledgeable group digging deep and really trying to look for a good solution. I also want to point out a lot of orange construction going around the district, you'll see that at Hawthorne Elementary, Kearney Elementary, and Dogwood. So it's exciting to see those projects get kicked off. And then the other thing is we had a long-range facility planning team meeting last week. Eric Nolan facilitated that, did a nice job. Again, with the GMPs or the guaranteed maximum prices coming back in for the renovations, that really gave us some room to really evaluate how to use additional resources and apply them towards deferred maintenance. So that was a really good conversation for us to have and start to prioritize some work. And lastly, this is homecoming week. Tonight is Powder Puff. So I know there's some incentive for us to move along in the agenda. And again, the parade is on Friday. Want to encourage everybody to come out at 2 o'clock. And then we've got a football game that night against North Kansas City. So that's my superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Miller. Consent agenda?
Move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you. Information items, financials? Bond project update, Mr. Nolan?
So our remaining three bond projects are underway. We have Kearney Elementary, site demolition has started, and site utility relocates have either started late this afternoon or will tomorrow and the next day. Hawthorne has some curb modifications that started this morning, along with some paving of some sidewalks to make the playground accessible. And that'll be followed up by their temp fencing going in starting on the 30th. And then Dogwood, their site mobilization will start on October 1st. And that will, the temp fencing and setup will start a couple days after that. Any questions?
Thank you. Program evaluation, grant-funded programs?
So I am reporting on this, but I am not the facilitator for a lot of these grants. So I have the facilitator's name up here, so if you do have questions about these, a lot of these have other people you need to be asking. The first one we have is our Children's Fund grant. You guys have heard a lot about this before, but this last year it was $980,900. We served over 2,000 students with all kinds of different therapy. Also supported Bulldog Care, POAC, our Respect campaign, a couple different SEL curriculums, as well as Panorama. And we paid for our Russ Tuttle presentation, the Stop Trafficking Project, from that grant as well. Our Grow Your Own, Zach McMains and Mindy Salmonson facilitate that. It's a $10,000 grant. And it goes towards scholarships. Mindy did go to a leadership conference for Grow Your Own. That program has really taken off and she's done a great job with that. And then you'll see a chunk of it was used to pay for dual credit tuition. Our school safety grant, the facilitator of that is Eric Nolan. It was a $200,000 DESE grant. You will see the bulk of it was used for security updates for doors and access at the secondary schools, as well as camera upgrades at the secondary schools. Our real world learning grant from Kaufman, I oversee that with Stacy Holtzclaw. She's our career readiness coordinator. It's $110,000. The bulk of that does pay for partial our career readiness coordinator's salary, as well as our youth science survey that all of our ninth graders take. It's an aptitude survey for our kiddos, as well as some field trips and conferences for staff and kids. Our cybersecurity grant, Ryan Blankenship facilitates that, $50,000 grant, and the bulk of that was used on software to prevent malware and ransomware, and as well as some other things like phishing testing and cybersecurity training for his guys. Our evidence-based reading grant, $31,000. Allie Stewart oversees that. You all might remember last year with our Kearney Leadership Academy, Clara Steffen presented on that, how she brought parents in to work with them on helping their children read. We purchased materials, and so that's where the bulk of that went, is to purchase materials so families can support their children at home. Teacher retention grant. That was a 3-year grant, a DESI grant, and Marcia Bartow, she oversaw that, but there's building reps from all of the different buildings, and they just had a lot of cool things for the teachers to do, you know, different supplies for the teachers' lounge and updating the lounges. They did book studies. They brought Kearney Nutrition in, self-defense classes, cooking classes, painting classes, just all kinds of things for the teachers to do. They did a lot of neat things, and it was really appreciated by the teachers. Teacher innovation grants, those are the ones that Kearney Education Foundation, our teachers apply for those. It's all kinds of things to help our teachers in the classroom. There's a huge range of different things in there. I mean, our teachers, it really helps our teachers in the classroom just do some of those extra projects that they enjoy doing that we can't always have the funds for them to do. And then the last, it is the ESSER funds, and I didn't realize it. Ginger informed me that that actually was a grant, and that is, so over the last 4 years, we have had $754,830. That's what we have spent. You know, chunk of that was on SEL support, having an extra counselor in the district and a social worker, and supplies along that, along those lines. Online learning, that goes back to our KSD Connect when we had to do online school, paying for those teachers, as well as other online programs. We have different things set up for learning loss, so we have additional support to help with math and reading primarily. And then there's preventative and identification for that we put into the nursing program as well as the custodial program. And then we had a lot of COVID subs that we spent a lot of money on. And that's it. Questions?
All right, thank you. There's a written report on human resources. All right, and 2025 Missouri Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, public survey.
And that's Mid-America Regional Council basically just asked us to post this if patrons would like to participate in their survey to solicit information. So it's here for people to review and participate if they so choose.
All right. Action items, approval of the board manual.
Move to approve the 2024-2025 board manual as presented.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Approval of the bill.
Move to approve the bill payment for coal printing as presented.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Board member comments? Thank you. Important dates. Homecoming this week, the parades and the game. Board work session, October 14th. October 16th is the board meeting. October 17th to the 19th, MSBA conference.
This can be a busy week.
It is a busy week. Miscellaneous? John?
Action for a closed session to immediately precede the regular meeting in October, including any record or vote to discuss items and issues allowable under Section 610-021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Roll call.
Matt Baker.
Yes.
Len Broughton. Meredith Cole. John Kern.
Yes.
Bree Switzer. Nick Vaskus.
Yes.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes. 7:30, 7:29, adjourned.
You didn't beat.